What's up, guys? It's KB. Make sure you subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. Click the bell icon down below so you don't miss a single video from us. And thanks for tuning in to another video from Underground Sports Philadelphia. Now let's get into it.
Philadelphia, baby, you're going to love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually, the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
Welcome back to Top Bins, the show bringing you all the action from the Premier League and SerieA, England and Italy. I am your host, Matt, joined by my co-host, Dom. Dom, how are you?
Good, man. Feeling real good. Real good, actually.
Feeling semi-good, or, you know?
I'm feeling like nothing can stop me good.
Well, let's not get carried away here.
I'm getting carried away. I don't.
We've got plenty to talk about this week because we've had some good action on the weekend, and we got our Champions League Semifinal set officially after today. Let's start in England, where I think more of the drama was this past weekend. Kind of been the case for the last few weeks when we're talking about these two leagues, just because the stakes are a little higher. You have a proper title race in England, and then also the relegation battle is a little more intense. This week, West Ham 2, Arsenal 2. Yet another instance where Arsenal go 2-0 up. 2-0 up after 10 minutes in this game. Not too dissimilar from the Liverpool game the week before, where they're up 2-0. It's like 20 minutes in, and you think this could get very ugly. It could have been a 4 or 5-0 game from that point on. And things sort of switch around the 35-minute mark, where Arsenal lose their grip on the game, concede a goal, and they come out in the second half. I mean, you have a very pivotal minute and a half in the second half where Saka misses a penalty, and then I think it was a little over a minute later, Jared Bowen scores the equalizer, which ends up being how it finishes in this one 2-2. So in some ways, I think this, the Liverpool game last week, felt a little bit more like they actually ended up kind of earning a point, saved a point by holding on for a draw. It really felt like they could have lost that one. This West Ham one, I think, feels very much like they've really dropped 2 points in this game. This is a good opportunity for them to capitalize. And, like we talked about last week, City are gaining ground and gaining momentum. You do not want to be conceding, points in this situation.
Yeah, this is one of those games that, when you look back, is the one that's going to help City creep from the dead, so to speak, right? You said from personal experience, you have seen this happen. Well, we're seeing the beginnings of that to happen if Arsenal don't turn their form around. This is very crucial, right? I mean, granted, they haven't lost a game in their last 6, but still, like, even just dropping 2 points, those little bits of points that you're dropping add up, right? There's 4 drop points in their last 2 games. That's concerning when you're trying to keep this lead against City.
Yeah, and when you have 2, you have City in like. Oh my God, Dom, are you okay?
I just got vitamin water all over my desk.
Are you all right?
Yeah, well, yes, I am okay.
I can laugh then.
Oh, man. Damn. I need to get paper towels.
Go do what you gotta do.
That's crazy.
You gotta do. Oh my God. We're keeping that part in. We'll cut out the part of you cleaning up for goddamn. Motherfucker.
That's crazy. Like, literally everything. My capture card, my microphone, my monitors, my keyboard, my everything. This is crazy. I think I got everything. I think.
I'm glad.
Sorry for that.
Hey, man, we all been there. We have all been there. We're back. If you're just joining us again for Dom's near-death experience. Just couldn't, Dom, you choked. And I think there's potential for an Arsenal choke here as well.
I did this purposely.
Yeah, that was all
all
part of the
calculated.
plan. All very, very calculated and schemed out well from you. Yeah, I mean, you're talking about losing 4 points and, in a title race as close as this where your next match, they play Southampton and you expect that Arsenal should be winning that game. But you have City in a week, and that is a huge matchup. And again, we talked about it last week. You have to go there and get a positive result. Now, you don't have to win necessarily, but even a draw at the Etihad will keep things just as they are. And, City will have a game in hand for another few weeks. And, you won't have any clarity on that situation. But, Arsenal have the advantage that they're obviously not in Europe anymore. They don't have any other cup competitions. They can really just focus solely on the league. But, I think this is what a concern of mine was that City have been in these really dramatic title races that I think people have forgotten have also gone down to the last day. Every year that it's been competitive between them and Liverpool. There's been 2 years where both of them just ran away and no one touched it. But and every title race that they've had, it has actually gone down to the final day. And every week, for really the full season, even they've had to win. And you can't replicate that type of mentality and what it takes to sort of battle through those moments. Not that you necessarily need to have experienced that before to win a title, but I do think that is an advantage. If you're building out, what is an advantage and disadvantage to have, having done those things before is an advantage in City's favor. Arsenal have not been in those situations. I'm not going to say that, maybe if they were more experienced, they win against West Ham, they win against Liverpool, whatever. But I think if you're trying to parse through two very good teams, that is a clear distinction between the two, is that City have done this before and Arsenal have not been in this position.
Yeah, I admire Pep Guardiola's, way of instilling a specific mentality onto his teams. He seems like one of the only people that can really get that out of their athletes, and you can never count them out because of it. They just keep fighting. They find ways to win. And I mean, we saw it today in the Champions League as well, right?
Yeah.
We're going to talk about that a little bit later.
They've had an interesting tactical shift, I think, to post Christmas period, I think. I mean, you've even seen, you saw John Stones playing in the midfield in a few times the last few weeks. Saw that over the weekend. They've been really opting, and I think he's really liked this 4 center backs across the back line. They've been very good defensively, in a few matches now, and that's been a weak point this season. Has been defensive solidity. They haven't been able to keep a ton of clean sheets, but I think in the bigger games they've really been able to eliminate big high scoring chances. That's still a weakness of theirs though, and I think that is, if we're already looking ahead to the Arsenal match, that is where I think Arsenal can at least give some hope for themselves, is that it's not inconceivable that it could be a 2-2 game and Arsenal could keep up offensively, and that is the one thing. Arsenal's goals haven't fallen off. It's not like they've dried up here. It's just been a matter of, I think, controlling games, and I just think it's coming at a frustrating time of the season for them. So that was the big takeaway for the title race over the weekend. Like we talked about, City continue to gain form. Erling Haaland, by the way, tied Mohamed Salah's goal scoring record for the Premier League record. Seems very likely to obviously break that and he'll be looking at other records to break too within the Premier League. There's the 34 goal record, and then there's like a 48 goal record or something. So yeah, he's maybe not the 48 goals this season, but maybe next year. When he really beds in and really gets comfortable within the City squad.
What's Alan Shearer's total goal scoring record? Or sorry, Sergio Aguero, right? Didn't he break the goal scoring record, like the total goals?
Like for City?
No.
Alan Shearer has the record.
Alan Shearer still has the
overall
Premier League
goal
record,
scoring. Yeah. That's what Harry Kane is chasing, and he's I think 40-50 away.
What is it?
Like 289, something like that.
How long is Haaland going to stay at City?
3-4 years. He's not going to break it. Even if he got 40 goals a season, if he stays for 40 years, it's still only 160. He's not.
Yeah, that's true.
He's not getting that. I'm gonna look it up just to get exactly how many. It is 260.
Okay.
Is the mark. So, I mean, if Haaland stayed, if he had a full career,
if he stays
the Premier
longer,
League,
yeah.
If he had like a 10, 11-year career, maybe he's touching that, but we will see. Aston Villa winning yet again. Which has just been the story of the last month and a half for Villa. They've been on a tremendous run of form. They currently sit 6th in the table. They blew away Newcastle. I thought Newcastle had a really tough time, and this was Aston Villa's 5th straight win. They've won 7 of their last 8. The one game that they did not win, it was a 1-1 draw with West Ham. So they've been on a really good run of form. And
they're 3 points behind Spurs.
Yeah, they have and we'll talk a little bit about them later when I get to someone that we'll be talking about in a little segment we've got. But I wanted to give them a little bit of their flowers because they've looked really good. Bournemouth, speaking of Spurs, a dramatic late winner against Spurs. Arnaud Danjuma thought that he had the goal that was going to give Spurs at least a point, and they'd get out of there with a draw at home. But Bournemouth in the 95th minute find a goal. We talked about last week that they just seem to be this team, and there's usually one team that's kind of hovering around the relegation zone that just finds those meaningful wins and they escape. And it seems like Bournemouth are going to do that this year. It's not quite a great escape moment, although they were they were always kind of flirting with the relegation spots. They were never really deep down in there, like Southampton have been for a lot of this season. But it does seem like another win like this really kind of opens up their pathway to staying in the Premier League for another year.
No, hey, me, big Aston Villa guy since 2009. I'm all for this. Gabriella Bonglahor.
Are you trying to hurt my feelings? Is that
Hey, look, I'm just saying. I've been with it. I've been about it.
Yeah, you've been with it, all right.
Love seeing them potentially be in a spot to get into European.
Okay, so I'm just gonna ignore all that. So this is a new segment called "Guy Who Needs a Better PR Team," and this is just gonna be someone. It's not gonna be weekly. It's just gonna be whenever I feel like it. But a guy who needs a better PR team because they're having a great season and no one's talking about it for some reason. And people have had similar seasons so far and everyone can't shut up about them. If you had to I've already primed it, but if you just had to say who's had a great season in the Premier League, what strikers, what forwards have had great years, just start listing off. Hey, guys that come to mind.
Gabriel Jesus minus the injury.
Sure. Yeah. Largely a pretty good.
Obviously.
Haaland, of course, runaway favorite. He's
I would say what I'm looking at the table, just going down teams, thinking Rashford.
Rashford, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I love that you brought up Marcus Rashford. I actually love that you brought up Marcus Rashford, Tom, because Marcus Rashford is a good man. He is. There's no doubt about it. He feeds hungry children. There's nothing better that you can do in this world than that, right? I mean, throw your hands up. That's great. However, Marcus Rashford, he's had a good season, objectively. He's had a good goal-scoring season. He's got a groin injury right now. He'll be back. He'll probably be back in the goals. There's a man who's had just as good of a goal-scoring run as Marcus Rashford had, where Rashford was scoring like every goal post-World Cup, and no one could stop talking about it. And this man that I'm about to bring up needs a better PR team. In fact, he can hire us. I will work on the cheap. Ollie Watkins has 14 goals and 6 assists. Marcus Rashford, 15 goals and 4 assists. This dude has had just as good as an output as Marcus Rashford, who was getting Player of the Year hype in January and February. And Ollie Watkins has been some kind of run over the last few months. And I just want to say, Ollie Watkins, if you want us to represent you for your PR team, because I think you could lose a little boost, and I don't know why. He's a fun player. He's English. He's on the younger side. Like, he's always been kind of like, I think people have always kind of wanted him. At least I have always wanted him to kind of break through to be a good player. He seems like a nice guy. Like, why is he not getting a little more hype, a little more love? I just think, Ollie Watkins, take a bow. You've had a great year. We recognize you. Let us do some work for you.
Hey, yeah, I can't complain. And maybe somebody else. I don't think this guy really needs a PR team. He needs a better PR team to get him in some good PR. Like Ivan Toney, he's sitting third on that list with 18 goals, helping keep Brentford in the Premier League.
I think the 480 instances of sports betting might be why Ivan Toney has had
needs a better.
I think that's a little self-inflicted. I don't know if what he needs is necessarily a PR team. I think he needs maybe a better person in his life to be like, Ivan, just put the phone down. Stop going on Bet365.
He's a good at Gamblers Anonymous real quick. And
be gambling. I think in the UK it's like be gambler aware. So he needs to he needs that in his life.
Take a couple classes.
I'm not sure what PR does for him. I think it's a little past my capacity at least. My PR for Ollie Watkins is I'll just tweet a bunch about how good he is, and I'm good for maybe one poorly edited meme in Snapchat, and that's what I can offer to Ollie Watkins. So if you're interested, Ollie, I'd love to do something with you, no problem. And come to Liverpool while you're at it. I'd love to have you. Let's hop over to Italy real quick. Where, hey Dom, did you know this? Everyone that competed in European competition over the past weekend in Serie A, except for Roma, either lost or drew. Nobody won except for Roma. Everyone's struggling with the rotation and kind of the vigor of the late season. It's been a long season, of course, and rotation, I think, is been some of the culprit there, some fatigue for sure. But a lot of people dropping points this weekend. Who was on the come up were those Roman clubs, Roma and Lazio, both winning, extending the lead, especially Lazio, who seem, I don't want to say it's for certain, of course, but it certainly is becoming more and more hard to not see them finishing in the Champions League spots. They have I think it's a 10-point cushion now on 5th spot. So it's very likely that we see Lazio in the Champions League next year. And this was all done too without Ciro Immobile, who got in a car accident. He was hit by a tram, and he was saying that the tram ran a red light and hit him, and the tram said, no, it was green, and you were speeding down the street. So I don't know if there's going to be some. There's been an inquiry made. Was the news that I was reading today into the accident itself and maybe who was at fault. But thankfully he's fine. He's going to be able to return in a week or two. But Lazio, good season so far. I wanted to have these two conversations because both of these clubs, I think, are kind of having funny seasons in some ways. So get through to the Champions League semifinals tonight, and are also in the Coppa Italia semifinal. And that game is very much in the balance. We'll get that settled in a week and see, whether it's them or Juventus in a final. Yet their league performances have not been great. They currently sit 5th on 51 points. They're in danger of falling out of even Europa League spots, right? That is certainly a potential for them. Lukaku cannot finish. I think that's been the biggest issue is their finishing in the final third has not been up to the standard. You've had rumors about Inzaghi thinking even about resigning after the Empoli game, and I don't know what his future holds after the summer. But isn't it strange that a team that could conceivably, it doesn't mean it's going to happen, but they're in a Champions League semifinal, they're in a Coppa Italia semifinal, they could do a cup double, a very good one at that, like win a Champions League or at least make a Champions League final, and could, potentially win a Coppa Italia again.
Nope.
Yet
Double's not happening. Double's not happening. Nah. Don't even go any further with that. The double's not happening.
I just wanted to point out what a strange year Inter are having, because I felt like a lot this year that they could beat anyone on their day. Like they're like, and I think that's why actually they've done so well in the cups, is that they have not been a consistent team, but I do think that they are good enough that on any day they can beat a lot of teams in Europe. I really do believe that with them. And I mean, too, like they had a very challenging Champions League group as well. Like their path to this stage has not really been an easy one, you wouldn't say. Like, and that has been the big like obstacle for them in years past too, is even making it out of the Champions League groups. So I think it's just been a strange year that I wanted to kind of chronicle and at least put down that we at least mention what a weird year Inter are having.
Well, it's very weird, especially over the last stretch of like 5 games, not including the Champions League. They got shut out twice, or shut out 3 times, excuse me, and they only scored 2 goals. Meanwhile, in the Champions League, they scored 3 in their match their second match against Benfica. They scored 5 total in the tie, but they did allow Benfica to come back in that second game, and Benfica equalized. It was 3-3. So Juventus has been showing some really shoddy spots in their defense. There's did I say Juventus or did I say Inter?
You said Juventus, but I was going to let you.
Excuse me, Inter. Inter has shown some real, questionable defending. So, I really hope that they keep that type of form. But, since this run of form, they started before this, I think 3 points above Milan. And like Milan have only gotten their form has been kind of trash. In their last 6, they only have 1 win. They have 3 draws, yet now they sit 2 points above Inter in the table. So it is really alarming times for Inter. Atalanta is on the come up. Juventus is on the come up. I mean, even teams like Fiorentina and Bologna, they can start stealing points here and there and really put some pressure. If Inter don't turn it around, they can fall out of their European competition spot. I also heard that Juventus, the point deduction may be changed.
There's like all types of rumors about what is happening with that, and there's no like official date on when things are necessarily supposed to be cleared up. So people are like theorizing that it could.
But yeah, I saw that stuff on social media.
That it could be overturned. No one really knows is the big thing. No one really knows what's going to happen. As far as I've been able to find, there's no idea. Like there's no real clear idea of what actually is going to happen. There's like a few different pathways that this could take. One of them is that they get their 15 points back. But even then, no one. It doesn't feel right to speculate because, like, frankly, no one has a clue. Like, it's far beyond the ability to speculate. So I think it's best to just assume that Juventus are not getting the 15 points back.
I heard it was going to be reduced from like 15 to like 6 or 15 to 9 or something like that. Like,
I don't know why it would do that necessarily, because to me it's either yes or no. Like, I don't know that the body sort of reviewing this in appeal should be like, actually it should be 8 points. Like, it's either more that this was an appropriate decision or not. I don't. Mm-hmm. But again, we are all just speculating at this point on Juventus and what path that is going to take. Talk a little bit about Fiorentina, because talk about one of the most informed teams in Europe, not even just in Serie A, in all of Europe. Fiorentina have been on some kind of run. They are very likely to go into the semifinals of the Europa Conference League. They have a 4-1 lead over Lech Poznan, and that'll get settled tomorrow. You expect that they'll be able to hold on to that lead. They're also in the semifinals of the Coppa Italia. They're going into that second tie, 2-0 up already on Cremonese. You expect again that they could see that out, especially with that game being at home. You expect that they will be in a Coppa Italia final. It is totally conceivable that they could also be in a Europa Conference League final. they've been doing great in the league. They've really been shooting up the table. They had a really tough fall and early winter, but in the last few weeks, their last loss, Dom, do you know the last time Fiorentina lost in the
Like
league?
in Serie A?
In SerieA, do you know the last time?
Back in January.
You're not too far off. February 12th was the last time they lost. It was 1-0 to Juventus in the Dusan derby, the Chiesa Classico. But yeah, ever since then, I mean, it has just been wins for Fiorentina. So I wanted to give them their due because they've been, again, I think one of the most informed teams in all of Europe, let alone just in Serie A. And, I think they had a little inconsistent start to the season and it didn't really seem like they were finding their footing, but they certainly have. And I think, again, talk about a team that could have a really impressive year, again, talk about a cup double potentially. That'd be, I think that'd be a great, I think it's already a good marker of progress to, potentially, it seems very likely they'll be in a Coppa Italia final with a chance for silverware and to potentially have even a European final. Listen, that's a big deal. It was a big deal for Roma. I think Roma and
huge
success,
deal for Roma.
It was. Shut up. It totally was. You cannot tell me that Roma and their success this season is not built in some way. I mean, they're in the semifinals of the Europe. They're in the quarterfinals of the Europa League. Could be in the semis of the Europa League, right? And I think they were unlucky in their first leg to not be up against Feyenoord. You can't tell me that winning silverware like that is not meaningful.
No, it definitely
and it
is.
doesn't kind of encourage the team along. And I think for Fiorentina especially, a team that does not have, a big European pedigree, does not even have a big title winning.
The financial implications are the biggest thing that are going to be helpful for a club like Fiorentina if they win a European competition and bring that trophy, and then if they do the double, that's huge for them. They do have some pull when it comes to bringing in certain players on transfer. And they could even, get some of those outcasts from the bigger European clubs. Like they brought in Luka Jovic, who really didn't see any type of form at Real Madrid, and he's been playing pretty decent for Fiorentina. So
he's been all right.
Yeah.
He's been okay. I'm just saying this. I'm gonna be in Florence this summer, and I would love nothing more than to be able to pick up, a Coppa Italia 2022-2023 champion shirt or Europa Conference League champion shirt, something like that, something to commemorate the experience. Is all I'm saying. I'll also be, I'll be in Naples at some point this summer too. So I'm definitely going to be picking up some sort of Napoli Scudetto gear while I'm you just dry heaved your way out of a nice gift from the homeland. That's to think.
A Napoli jersey?
I don't know. I was going to send you. I was going to send you something. Come on. Well, you're getting nothing now. There you go.
Damn it.
Niente. Champions League semis are set. Dom, we got the Milan derby in the semis of the Champions League. Hey, Dom, did you know that the last time that Milan and Inter were in the Champions League was the iconic photo of Materazzi and Rui Costa staring at the flare? Did you know?
I did.
No one has posted about this today. I can't believe no one's talked about it. That was the last time that these two played in the Champions League. That was the last time. Iconic image. How are you feeling? This. I mean, this is big. Being in the semifinals of a Champions League that's a big thing for Milan because of their recent history. Now, as a club, as their pedgree, this is not. We've never been here before, but it's been a while.
It's been a long time. I'm tired of hearing all the shit with Inter. They're back in their first semifinal in over a decade. Yeah, so are we. So it's been a long time, and you know what? Our form has improved so well. I'm saying our, like I'm part of the team. Milan's form has been so well.
You can say our. I mean, come on. Who cares?
They picked it up. I mean, playing Napoli 3 times in a span of 16 days, 12 days, something like that. Being able to beat them in the league 4-0. Have a I don't want to say convincing, 1-0 win, but a very strong 1-0 win. And then this draw that they had. Although there were certain things, I mean, Mike Maignan showed his quality. Milan are lucky to have him.
Big PK. I thought for sure that felt like, Kvara steps up to take the penalty. That was like the 81st or 82nd minute. And it really felt like goal there, and Napoli get another, and then it's extra time. You're in Naples. It really felt like, and honestly, I don't even think it was a bad penalty. I think it wasn't the best, but I don't think it was like one where it's like, oh yeah, that's never going in. Like I thought it was more a good save than anything, and he's very good against penalties too. Like he's one of the last keepers I think I'd actually want to be going up against in a situation like that in Europe at the moment. He's one of the best keepers in Europe in general. But
Calabria has also kind of silenced some of his doubters with how he's played Kvaratskhelia. I mean, to have played him 180 minutes, max, or sorry, I think he played. Calabria probably got subbed out both games or all 3 games, maybe. So 270 minutes max, and keeping him to no goals, no goal contributions is quite impressive, given the form that you would assume Milan to be in, because they haven't been in the best form in the league, but they've been red hot in Europe. So, and Inter is the complete opposite right now. We just spoke about that. Inter's form, their last or most recent game, is quite concerning. Having that 3-0 lead in the game, which they earned. I mean, the goals that they scored were really good. Barella's goal to open the scoring was beautiful. And even Angel Correa's goal, or not Angel, Joaquin Correa.
We mix them up. I mean, they're
Argentines. Yeah.
What are you gonna do? Nebulous is not quite a number 9, not quite a number 10. Can't play on the wing. What am I supposed to do with you?
His goal was nice. His goal was very nice. So, but the issues they're having defensively should worry Inter fans. I mean, this is a very charged, high intensity rivalry, and it could be something that Milan looks forward to now, given the fact that I don't even know if they're going to make the Champions League in the league. So it kind of gives them that incentive, like, hey, you got to win this whole thing if you want to be back here next year. So it's going to be really big for both teams. And I'm really looking forward to it, but I think Milan end up in the final. I really do.
Well, we're guaranteed an Italian club in the final, which is, obviously it was 2017, I think, was the last time Juventus made it. And, that's a 6-year hiatus. And really outside of that, Roma made the semis in 17-18. Really, Italian clubs have not been going deep in this competition. So the fact that, you have an all-Italian semifinal is nice, and I think speaks a little bit to the fact that Serie A in the last 2-3 seasons, I think, has had a little bit of a rebirth, especially in terms of quality. And I mean, too, the fact you could have potentially an all-Italian final. It's at least on the cards in Europa League. Juventus are potentially, could be semifinalists, and Roma could be going. It's still so much to be decided, but there's a lot to look forward to there. I think that's obviously going to be a really fun tie, and it's going to, like you said, it's very charged. It's anytime those two teams have played, it's always been an entertaining match, and the fact that so much is on the line, you just don't get, derbies like this in the biggest stages. It's very, very uncommon. And especially too, these two teams have never been dominant in Europe at the same time. And Milan have a much more storied history in Europe compared to Inter. See how I'm placating to you. See how I'm giving you a little bit to chew on there. I hope you appreciate that. But we really haven't even had the opportunity for them to play each other very much in the Champions League. Despite the fact that I think when you think of Italian clubs, these are two of the first clubs you think of. It's really both Milan clubs and Juventus are I think the big three, as it was in Italy.
When it comes to Champions League, I mean, you're thinking of Milan and Inter. Inter had a very iconic Champions League trophy in 2010. So, definitely those are the two clubs you think of. But I'm looking forward to the Teo Dumfries battle. Milan are starting to hit that form back in their 4-2-3-1. They're very comfortable formation that they've been playing for a long time. Leao is hitting form, so it's really, really interesting on that left side. I really don't. Now I know that Darmian always tends to hit form when he plays Milan. He always likes to just shaft us. So I don't know. He's been very shoddy, inconsistent as a center back, but who knows? That's the only two players on Inter that worry me right now. Or sorry, I'll say three. Lautaro Martinez, Nicola Barella, and what's his name? DiMarco. I think DiMarco's such an X factor for them. He's so aggressive on that left side. He's their Teo Hernandez, basically.
Yeah.
So, DiMarco was involved in the goal, the second goal. It was basically all set up because of him. And what a shithouser move too by him. He's celebrating by himself instead of going over to Lautaro. Like, thank you for tapping it in. Like, he's like, I did this shit.
Hey, man. You take it anyway you get. The first leg of that is May 9th. We also have Real Madrid, Manchester City, a rematch of last year's semi.
This is interesting. This is a very interesting match.
Very interesting match. Obviously, City were like a minute away from making the Champions League final last year until Real Madrid summoned yet again for I don't know how many times the black magic that they have imbued within their club, just like they did in the Champions League final. It was a stolen final. We all saw it live. I don't believe that Thibaut Courtois is a real man. I think he's several men in a skin suit. So it's going to be a lot of fun, though. I mean, it's Man City, Real Madrid. I think I don't want to downplay Inter and Milan, but it does feel like the winner is probably coming out of the Man City, Real Madrid side. But who knows? You're in a final and anything can happen, right? But that's going to be a big match. I will say this: Man City are hitting their form at the right time of year, and I don't know how you cope with Erling Haaland. Erling Haaland feels like such an unstoppable force, but so are Real Madrid. So it is truly an unstoppable force meets an immovable object here because Real Madrid's weird voodoo that they have, the grip that they have over the Champions League and being able to find ways, even when they're not playing their best, to find their way to finals and to winning Champions Leagues is unprecedented, to be honest. I mean, it really is. So we will check back in.
I think the player that most importantly for City that's hitting form at the right time is Bernardo Silva, as that one like center mid that's like getting forward and really providing that crucial link up play with De Bruyne to help set up players is so important. And he's been playing a big part for them in their success. So it's going to be definitely looking forward to this game.
Jack Grealish too, I think deserves a lot of credit for how he's played over the last few weeks. He's been a huge part. Again,
Nathan Ake as well.
Yeah, I mean, just it's disgusting. I mean, what more can you say? I'm looking forward to
four center backs. It's crazy.
I'm going to say this. I've always loved Real Madrid. I've always had a lot of respect for Los Blancos, and Karim Benzema, I think, is actually a really good person, and I think a role model for all of us. And I think what else? I think Luka Modric is the best midfielder I've ever seen play. Toni Kroos, just total class act, just a great guy.
Those are almost facts. So
yeah. I'm just building them up. That's all I'm saying. Thibaut Courtois definitely does not have a disgusting face. He's definitely not one of the ugliest people I've ever seen in my life. Carlo Ancelotti, he's totally not a fraud who can only win luck-based competitions and only won like 4 league titles in his life. I took it too far.
Don't you dare slander one of the greatest managers of all time. Don't dare do that.
Listen, Carlo Ancelotti. Great follow on Twitter. I've followed Carlo for like 7 years. He tweets like once every few months, but I love the man. I really do. Even though he's given me some of my darkest moments, I love the guy. I really do.
Yeah, he also helped give you one of your brightest moments too.
That is true, but like he couldn't have spotted me one last year. I really could have used it. He's in. When he was at Everton too, he had a habit of taking points off of Liverpool as well. We really could have used to win the one of those titles. But shout out to Carlo Ancelotti. I just love the power of Pep Guardiola. Just obsessing over tactics, and Carlo Ancelotti just talks to everyone and just raises an eyebrow, and they all know what that means. And it just means, hey, it's time to care. It's time to win our shit. It's time to win another Champions League title. I do wonder how many more Champions Leagues does Carlo Ancelotti have to win before he's just the greatest manager ever? Like, I know he hasn't had the league dominance. Like, that's the only blemish that people could buy. But, like, Does he have to win like? Because I mean, however much longer he stays in Madrid, which it seems like this could be his last season. It feels like they're at least guaranteed to get to the semis.
He has to win this in order to like undisputedly have that position. Because do you hold total trophies or like as the deciding factor? Because like someone like Zidane who won back to back Champions Leagues is also like that's an unprecedented feat, right?
There's another aspect of Carlo Ancelotti's career that I think deserves a ton of credit, and that's the fact he has done it in so many different eras and in different leagues and with different players and play styles even, and different like molds of players. Like he's not just been this like he has evolved, and like this is a guy that's been in management for like 30 years at this point. Like
that is a good point.
And I think that gets lost in the debate a lot in terms of like, okay, Jose Mourinho, right, has like a high peak and is like one of the, like, you cannot tell the story of this century of football without talking about Jose Mourinho, his impact. You also can't, like, I can't say that Jose Mourinho right now is as good as he was in like 2005, right, or 2010. Like those were just, I don't know that he has that left. Carlo Ancelotti is still taking teams to Champions League finals and winning them. Is still winning league titles. Like, I don't know, man. Like I
think the only thing in his aspect of being a manager is actually like maybe taking younger talents or taking certain talents and turning them into the best players in the world. Like he did it with Shevchenko, he did it with Kaká, he did it with Cristiano Ronaldo. Like he was able to take talents regardless if they came from a smaller league and credit to the scouting team and Carlo for getting who he wanted and turning them into just the hottest talent in Europe. Like I think that's what also can separate him from some of these other managers. Like Zidane was able to win back-to-back Champions Leagues, but he's basically just getting players. You know what I mean? Like it's almost like another Galacticos Real Madrid. Like it's Galacticos 2.0. That's really what it was. Like we're just going to spend all the money. We're going to bring these players in, or you have these players already at your disposal.
I don't know that I don't think Zidane's tenure was really Galacticos. Like he was working with, like, there weren't like huge signings during his time.
Well, he already had them. Like he kind of was like placed in this situation where,
and then they won some, and then like for a very long time it was like you can't win back-to-back Champions Leagues, and so I was like,
and then
we will. And then we'll do it one more time for fun. Like we just feel like it. I
do think like the longevity, the only person that has that type of argument with longevity and success at the same time is like Sir Alex Ferguson, but even he doesn't have the longevity that Ancelotti has.
I think their careers like roughly, the same. I really think Ancelotti deserves to be more in this debate, because I just think the fact that you consider that he's done it for so long and is still like putting together like peak seasons is impressive. I think one thing that, Ferguson, and I love to take shots of it whenever I can, is like he didn't have the big Champions League like pedigree. Like he won them, of course, but like Ancelotti is like
league dominance.
This is like a regular thing now with him, right? And he could have another one this year. That again, just the fact that he's winning them in the early 2000s, he's winning them in the early 2020s. Yeah, it's just, I think, hugely impressive. So, and he's just been able to evolve and continue to be a good and relevant manager, which a lot of people aren't able to do. It's not easy. And he won them as a player.
Eyebrow
too.
never
he won
dies.
them as a player, which by the way deserves like credit too. Like this is a guy that he just won. He just that's what he does.
How many managers have both won the Champions League as a player and a manager?
It's not many.
It's got to be a very small list, right?
I think it's
like Zidane, him.
I think they're like 7 or 8 to have done it. But yeah, he's not. Wikipedia is telling me he's one of 8 people to have won the European Cup or Champions League as both a player and a manager. I'm gonna look that up really quick. Because I want to know Champions League as a player and manager. 7 men have won the tournament, both as a player. One of these is very obvious: Johan Cruyff,
Yep.
Frank Rijkaard, Pep Guardiola, Zidane, Carlo Ancelotti, Giovanni Trapattini, and Miguel Munoz. So shout out to them. Yeah, I forgot Pep did win it once as a player.
Yeah, I didn't realize that one.
Good for Pep Guardiola. You know, that guy he just really is missing out on more titles. You know, if there's one thing I could hope for is that Pep Guardiola has more trophies in his life. So,
Hey, Conference League is heating up.
yeah, so we got Conference League.
Violi.
Like we said, Fiorentina look very poised for the semifinals. West Ham 1-1 against Ghent. You know, they could, again, make it to another semifinals of European competition. That'd be good for them. For the Europa League, United collapsed very late against Sevilla last week. 2 disastrous own goals that now all of a sudden make this tie a lot more imbalanced. They have a ton of injuries to deal with. So it's a big question mark if United are going to advance into the semifinals. And we know that Sevilla also have some dark magic up their sleeve in the Europa League.
They are the Real Madrid of the Europa League.
I mean, they really are. Roma, like I said, I think we're a little unlucky to be down 1-0 to Feyenoord going into the second leg, and I think Juventus were actually lucky to be up 1-0 against Sporting Clubs of Portugal. So the duality of Italian clubs in Europe right there on display. We will get more clarity tomorrow when we see those teams. It's I believe it is an FA Cup weekend in England, so you know not our best fixtures to look forward to. We do have Arsenal Southampton on Friday. They can put some more space between them and Manchester City, you know, in the title race and make City really work for those points in those games in hand. If you're looking at like the relegation battle, you have Liverpool and Nottingham Forest. Nottingham Forest definitely needing a result because they have a tough end of the season schedule. Leeds against Fulham. They certainly could be using some points out of that game. For Italy, though, you know, we've got Juventus Napoli on Sunday and Atalanta on Roma on Monday. So, you know, some high level matches there.
I wouldn't sleep on the Empoli Inter as well. Given Inter's form and Empoli's track record of stealing points from bigger teams, that's a game to watch when it comes to the Champions League spots.
I agree wholeheartedly, Dom. Anything to say before we get out of here?
Yes. Today, in honor of the fact that we have a Derby della Madonnina in the UEFA Champions League semifinal, I just wanted to highlight on this day, I want to say about 12 years ago, AC Milan played Inter in a derby for the league, I'm pretty sure. And I think they won it thanks to a penalty by Antonio Cassano. And I just wanted to highlight what a talent he was when he was at Milan. I think he's very underrated for his time there. Not the most ideal career and role model that you want to have as a player.
Hang on. I mean, I was just smoking heaters and eating prosciutto. I mean, you know, like that's
no, it was Nutella. So I think when he was at Juventus, they were or when he was at Real Madrid, they had a Nutella sponsor, and they used to send him hella Nutella, and when he was going through like either injuries or his antics off the field and he was benched, he would go through like binge eating sessions and gained like 30 pounds over like 4 weeks or something.
He just like me.
But his time at Milan, it was actually really good. You know, people tend to remember that team because of other players that were in there, like Robinho and Pato and Pirlo and Ibrahimovic and Kevin Prince Boateng and, you know, El Shaarawy and all these other guys. Antonio Cassano was kind of just like in there. Like he had competition, so he didn't get as much playing time as some of these other guys. But what he did with his time was actually really like entertaining and creative, and is something that like you even don't see with some players in the Milan side. You're just starting to see it, but he brought some quality to the team. And also he helped keep Parma a couple years later in the SerieA for at least a year. So, you know, he kind of got his act straight, especially after he almost had, when he had a stroke at Milan and had surgery and all that other kind of stuff and had to come back and start living a healthy lifestyle. So, you know, I just wanted to highlight Antonio Cassano.
And
one
now
of the,
he
one
spends
of
his time
the,
shitting
the
on Jose Mourinho and saying he's
listen,
overrated as a coach. And that,
listen, the Mario Ballotelli of his time. Okay, that's
yeah, I think I'll tell you this: he's an interesting character
yes.
among many, and I think one of the regrets is that I think he's a little bit of a what if. I really think he could have reached a big level. He had a lot of natural talent that I think left.
He could have
he
been
left
Totti
untapped.
status at Roma if he didn't give in
If
to
he, if
all
he
of
had
those
if he had a little more discipline
controversial. Yeah,
but I also think listen, you need for every Francesco Totti, you need a Cassano. I'll
that's
say
true.
that. You
That is
really
very
do. There
true.
needs to be some balance in this world. You can't all be good guys with the straight cuts and that do it all the right way.
It's actually crazy. He is a huge what if like situation. Because what if the stuff at Roma? What if he got his act straight at Real Madrid? Suddenly he became a Galactico. What if the Pazzini and Cassano, partnership at Sampdoria like literally worked to its full potential? That was a hell of a partnership. I mean, so like it's just been what if after what if after what if after what if. What if his act was straight and he was able to do better, for Italy? And where could his career have gone? So, yeah, Antonio Cassano.
I think
One of
Nutella,
the streets
what I think
won't
of eating
forget
Nutella
type of player.
is that I remember in middle school. I don't know if Nutella was like new to America or something, but it was the first time I'd ever heard of it personally. And I don't know what it is about like teenage girls, and there was like this weird belief that like Nutella was like healthy or something. I think that's what it was. And then
Yeah.
like you remember this, right? That like teenage
Yes.
like in like middle school, like girls would just eat an entire thing of Nutella, and like that's all they would eat in a day, which is insane. Like I think people forget how weird body images, like not that our body images today and like are good, but like dysmorphia was like on a whole nother level in like 2007, like it was just crazy
It
talk.
was
But for
crazy.
some reason that was like a thing that that like young girls did, was just like eat like a thing of Nutella. That was it, just Nutella. And I thought that it was like a healthy thing. Like at that time,
So
I was
did
like, oh, like must be like some kind of like weird like health food thing or something. Like if they're just talking about, oh, all I eat is Nutella. Like, and then I looked, I was like, this is just sugar. This is just chocolate sauce.
I'm guilty of eating Nutella by the spoonful
Oh,
as like a snack.
no shade.
Yeah,
I'm not throwing shade. I'm just
no
saying
shade at all.
it was
I've done it.
bizarre behavior. Listen,
No, because it was literally like every other person at school. They'd be in class and they thought it was cool, to go in their bag like and with some downtime in class, like, pull out the Nutella and a plastic spoon.
Why did we do that?
And just like be in class.
Why did people do this? Why? I need to know if this is a thing in other places. So I need people to tell me if this is not just an us experience, that there were other teenagers in the mid to late 2000s that also, because again, I don't know if Nutella was just
Please let
new
us
to the
know.
country at this point and just got like a good branding thing going or what. But that was the first time I'd ever heard of it, and it felt like just everyone was just sucking down Nutella. They put a straw on those things and they were just going at it. Well,
It's
what more
hazelnut.
is
It's
it?
got to be healthier. Hey,
here's the thing. People think that nuts are healthy, and I mean they are in a sense. Like they're good. Like nuts are a good snack, but people get like hung up on them and like eat way too much, and like they're a calorically dense food. You got to watch it. Like they're healthy, but you got it handful.
right
a handful.
before the podcast, I was chowing down on multiple handfuls of honey roasted peanuts. And then after
You were grazing.
a little pour into the hand, knock it down real quick. After like my fourth one, I looked at the back of the thing.
And you were like, damn, I just ate 600 calories.
Yeah, it's like 160 calories for a 1 ounce like serving. I was like, oh well, let me go put these back.
Yep, that'll get you. That will get you. We'll be back next week, wrapping up all the action, talking more about weird behaviors of people that we knew in middle school. Until then, we'll talk to you next time.